I found my sister's secret second phone, and what was on it revealed a lie so big it threatened to destroy not just her life but mine as well. My name is Sarah, and my world has always been built on a foundation of close-knit family. I'm 31 and my younger sister Lisa, 28, has always been my best friend. We tell each other everything. Or at least I thought we did. Our parents live nearby and we have a tight circle of friends, including Rachel, 32, and her husband David, 33. Rachel and I have been friends since college and our lives have been happily parallel. I'm married to a great guy named Mark and we're thinking about starting a family. Life was perfect, stable, predictable. I loved it that way. The crack in this perfect facade appeared on a mundane Tuesday. Lisa was over at my place for our weekly wine and wine session. She'd been acting a bit off for a few months, distracted, sometimes secretive with her phone, but I'd chalked it up to stress from her demanding new job. That night her main phone buzzed and she went to the bathroom to take the call, which was odd. When she came back, she was flustered and said she had to leave early because of a work emergency. In her rush, she accidentally knocked her oversized tote bag off the couch, spilling its contents all over my floor. As we scrambled to pick up lipsticks, keys, and random receipts, I saw it. A sleek, black smartphone I'd never seen before. It was identical to the model she had, but this one had a simple black case, unlike her usual blinged-out one. "Since when do you have two phones?" I asked, holding it up. The color drained from her face. She snatched it from my hand so fast it was like a viper strike. "Oh, it's just a work phone they forced on me." "A total pain," she said, her voice an octave too high. She shoved it back into the depths of her bag, muttering about hating being always reachable. The explanation was plausible, but her reaction, the panic in her eyes, the hurried grab, wasn't. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. I let it go, but the seed of doubt was planted. Over the next 2 weeks, that seed grew into a gnawing obsession. I noticed more things. Lisa would often text with a faint, private smile on her face, but if I asked who it was, she'd say, "Just a guy from work," and change the subject. She never mentioned dating anyone seriously. She started buying new, more expensive clothes and once let slip she'd booked a spontaneous weekend spa trip. When I asked who with, she clammed up. The breaking point came during a family dinner at our parents' house. Lisa was in the garden taking a call on her work phone. I went to the kitchen to get more drinks and saw her main phone charging on the counter. It buzzed with a notification from her banking app, previewing a recent transaction on the screen. A withdrawal of $15,000 from her savings account. My breath hitched. That was her entire emergency fund. Why would she take that out? Before I could process it, another notification popped up, this time from a messaging app one didn't recognize. The preview read, "D. Can't wait for Friday. The plan is almost set. Remember, not a word to anyone, especially not S." My initial is S. Sarah. My blood ran cold. The plan? $15,000? Not a word to me? This was far bigger than a secret boyfriend. This felt ominous. The trust one had in my sister shattered in that instant. This wasn't just a secret. It was a secret that deliberately excluded and potentially involved deceiving me. I had to know what was on that second phone. A few days later, I concocted an excuse to visit her apartment. I brought over lunch, and while she was in the kitchen heating up the soup, I saw the black phone, carelessly left on the coffee charger. This was my only chance. My heart hammered against my ribs so loudly I was sure she could hear it. I grabbed it. It was locked, of course. But I remembered her old password from years ago, a silly one she used for everything she thought wasn't important. With trembling fingers I typed it in, Sunshine 28. It unlocked. I have never felt like more of a monster invading my own sister's privacy like that. But the dread overpowered the guilt. I opened her messages. The threads were mostly work-related, but one contact was saved simply as D. My mind immediately went to David. I opened it. The messages were not just romantic. They were operational. They spoke in code, but the meaning was terrifyingly clear. Lisa, transfer went through. $15,000. This is really happening. Dude. Half is for the documents. The other half is for the first month's expenses. We need to disappear cleanly. Lisa, I'm scared. What if S finds out before we're gone? D, she won't. We leave Friday. New identities, new life. You won't have to pretend anymore. Lisa, I hate lying to her. She's my sister. D, it's for the best. She could never understand. We're doing this for us. For our future. I scrolled up, my vision blurring with tears of panic and betrayal. There were photos. Not of a hotel rendezvous, but of passports. New passports. With Lisa's photo but a different name. And next to it a photo of another passport. The photo was of David. The name was different too. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to disappear. To fake their deaths. To just vanish. And they had taken $15,000 to do it. But why? It made no sense. David had a good job, a life with Rachel. Why would he abandon everything? Then I found the file. A scanned document in a secure folder. It was a life insurance policy. A massive one. Taken out by David on his own life, with Rachel as the primary beneficiary. But there was a note attached from D. This is the key. Once it pays out, we're set for life. She'll be taken care of and we'll be free. The pieces clicked into a horrifying picture. This wasn't a love story. This was a conspiracy. They weren't just running away together. They were planning to commit fraud on a massive scale. David was going to disappear, presumed dead, and Rachel would collect the life insurance money. But then what? Would David and Lisa use their new identities to access the funds somehow? Was Rachel in on it? No, that couldn't be. The messages talked about lying to everyone, especially me. They were using Rachel too. I felt physically sick. I quickly closed the apps, locked the phone, and put it back just as Lisa came out of the kitchen. I don't know how I managed to make conversation. I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body. My sweet, funny sister was involved in something monstrous. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about crime. It was about destroying Rachel's life in a way far more cruel than simple infidelity. I left her apartment in a daze. I couldn't go to the police without absolute proof. What if I was misinterpreting things? But I couldn't do nothing. Friday was only 3 days away. I decided my only move was to confront Lisa. I had to stop her from making a mistake that would ruin countless lives, including her own. I went back to her place that evening, unannounced. The look on her face when she saw me told me everything. She knew I knew. "Where are you going on Friday, Lisa?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. She tried to bluff. "What are you talking about?" "I have a work trip." "Don't." I cut her off. I saw the phone. I saw the messages. I saw the passports. And I saw the life insurance policy. The bravado collapsed. She crumpled onto her sofa, sobbing. But these weren't tears of guilt over an affair. These were tears of fear. "You don't understand, Sarah. You have no idea what's going on." "Then explain it to me." I demanded, my own composure breaking. "Explain why you and David are planning to commit fraud. Explain why you're stealing $15,000 from yourself to help him fake his death and devastate Rachel." "Steal? Fake his death?" She looked up at me, her face a mess of confusion and tears. "What are you talking about? I'm not stealing anything. And David isn't faking his death. Then what is the life insurance policy for? What are the new identities for? Why do you have to disappear?" I was yelling now. "Because he's in trouble, Sarah," she screamed back. "Deep, serious trouble. The kind of trouble that gets people killed." The room went silent except for her ragged breaths. The anger drained out of me, replaced by a new, colder fear. What kind of trouble? She hugged her knees to her chest, looking like a scared child. "He got involved with some people, at work. It started small, just moving some money around, skimming a little off the top. He said it was for us, for our future. But it got bigger. He embezzled a lot of money. Hundreds of thousands. And the people he was doing it for, they're not just businessmen. They're dangerous. He got in over his head and now they're threatening him. And me. They found out about us. The story spilled out. David, feeling trapped in his life and lured by easy money, had become the inside man for a sophisticated financial crime ring. When he tried to back out, they threatened to expose him, ruin him, and worse, hurt Rachel and the kids if he didn't cooperate. He saw only one way out: to disappear. He needed to stage his death so the ring would think he was gone and leave his family alone. The life insurance policy was his way of making sure Rachel and the kids would be provided for, to assuage his own guilt. He had convinced Lisa that they were star-crossed lovers, that this was their only chance to be together and to save his family. "He loves Rachel in his own twisted way," Lisa cried. "He's doing this to protect her. And he loves me. We're going to start over somewhere new. The $15,000 is my contribution for our new start. It's the only way." I stared at her, horrified. She wasn't a master criminal, she was a pawn. A deluded, love-struck pawn who believed she was part of a noble escape plan. She couldn't see the gaping holes. What made him think these dangerous people would just believe he was dead? What if they came after Rachel anyway? And the life insurance company would investigate a death claim intensely. They would uncover the embezzlement, the fake identity. It was a house of cards that would inevitably collapse. And when it did, Lisa would go down with David as an accomplice to fraud and God knows what else. "Lisa, he's lying to you," I said, my voice soft but firm. "He's not protecting Rachel. He's setting her up for a world of pain. The insurance company will investigate. They'll find the embezzlement. They'll deny the claim and Rachel will be left with nothing but debt and scandal. And you'll be a fugitive. You'll never be able to see Mom and Dad again. You'll lose everything." "No. You're wrong," she insisted, but I could see the doubt creeping into her eyes. "He has it all planned. We'll be safe." "He's a desperate man feeding you a desperate fantasy," I said. "I can't let you do this. You have 1 week. 1 week to break it off with him and convince him to go to the police, to come clean about the embezzlement. It's the only way out that doesn't end in total disaster." "Go to the police? They'll kill him," she shrieked. "And if you run, they might kill you both when they find you. Or you'll both spend your lives in prison." I stood up. 1 week, Lisa. If you don't put a stop to this, I will. I'll go to the police myself. I have the messages. I have the photos of the passports." The look she gave me was one of pure hatred. "You would turn in your own sister? To save her from herself?" "Yes." I left, my ultimatum hanging in the air. The following days were agony. I watched the calendar, the clock. I saw Rachel, blissfully unaware that her husband was planning to die. Every cheerful word she spoke felt like a knife twist. I was trapped in a nightmare of my own making, holding a secret that could be a bomb. 4 days into the week, Lisa finally called me. Her voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "Meet me at the waterfront park. Tonight at 8. Alone. David wants to talk to you. He says he can explain everything." Felt like a trap. But what choice did I have? I had to go. I told my husband, Mark, a sanitized version, that Lisa was in a bad situation with a guy and I was meeting her to talk sense into her. I didn't mention David or the crime. I didn't want to drag him into the potential danger. I took my phone and a small can of pepper spray, feeling foolish and terrified. The park was deserted by the water's edge. The night was cold and misty. I saw Lisa standing alone under a lamp post. There was no sign of David. "Where is he?" I asked as I approached. "He's not coming," she said, her voice still eerily calm. "He changed his mind. He said you'd never understand." "Lisa, this has to stop," I pleaded. "The week is almost up." "I know," she said, turning to face me. Her eyes were red-rimmed but dry. "I've made my decision. I love him, Sarah. I'm going with him. And you need to forget you ever saw that phone." I shook my head, a sick feeling rising in my throat. I can't do that. You know I can't. He took a step closer. Then you leave me no choice. From behind her back she pulled out her second phone. But she wasn't holding it like a phone. He was pointing it at me. And in the dim light, I realized with a jolt of pure terror that it wasn't a phone at all. It was a small black taser designed to look like one. Lisa, what are you doing? I stammered, backing away. I can't let you ruin this for us, she said, her voice cracking for the first time. I'm sorry. There was a blinding flash of light, a crackling sound, and an excruciating pain shot through my body. My muscles seized up and I collapsed onto the damp grass, paralyzed but fully conscious. I could only watch as my sister, the person I had shared a childhood with, stood over me, tears now streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, she whispered again. Then she turned and ran into the darkness. I don't know how long I lay there, helpless and freezing. It felt like an eternity. Finally, the effects began to wear off. I managed to crawl to my phone, which had fallen from my hand. My first instinct was to call the police. But my finger hovered over the dial screen. If I called them, I'd have to tell them everything. Lisa would be arrested for assault at the very least. Her life would be over. In a moment of clarity, I called the only person I could think of, Rachel. She answered on the third ring, her voice cheerful. Hey, Sarah. What's up? I could barely form the words. Rachel, I need help. I'm at the waterfront park. Please, come alone. And don't tell David. The concern in her voice was immediate. What's happened? Are you okay? I'm on my way. 20 minutes later, her car screeched to a halt nearby. He found me shivering on the ground, trying to stand. Her face was a mask of shock and fear. Oh my God, Sarah. What happened? Were you mugged? I let her help me into the passenger seat, the heat of the car a shocking contrast to the cold outside. As she drove me to the hospital, I knew I had to tell her the truth. There was no other way. I told her everything. About the second phone, the passports, the embezzlement, the dangerous people, the plan to disappear, and Lisa's final desperate act. Rachel listened in stunned silence. When I finished, she didn't cry or scream. She just stared straight ahead at the road, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. I knew something was wrong, she said quietly. He'd been so distant, so secretive. He said it was work stress. I believed him. She pulled over into a deserted parking lot and turned to me, her eyes hard. What do? We go to the police, I said, my voice weak but resolute. No. Before they disappear on Friday. And that's what we did. From the hospital where I was treated for the taser shocks and exposure, we called the police. We told them the whole story. It triggered a massive investigation. David was arrested at his office the next morning on charges of embezzlement and conspiracy to commit fraud. The criminal ring he was involved with was quickly identified and dismantled by the Financial Crimes Unit, thanks to the information he provided under pressure. Lisa wasn't at her apartment. She had vanished. But she hadn't used her new passport. She was found 2 days later hiding in a cheap motel in a neighboring state. She had panicked after what she did to me and run, but she didn't have the nerve or the resources to fully disappear without David. She was charged with assault, conspiracy, and accessory to embezzlement. The fallout was nuclear. David, facing a long prison sentence, cut a deal and testified against his former associates. He got a reduced sentence, but he will still spend years in prison. Lisa, with a good lawyer and my testimony about her being manipulated, received a lighter sentence, including probation and mandatory counseling. But the emotional sentences were lifelong. Rachel divorced David immediately. She was humiliated, heartbroken, and furious. She felt betrayed not just by her husband, but by my sister, whom she had considered a friend. Our friendship, however, survived. It was forged in the fire of that shared trauma. We became each other's rock. My relationship with Lisa is irrevocably broken. She served her time and is out now, but she lives in another city. We haven't spoken since the trial. She blames me for destroying her chance at true love, and for sending her to jail. My parents are devastated, trapped in the middle, loving both their daughters but unable to reconcile us. I live with the guilt every day. If I had never looked at that phone, would David have been caught anyway? Would Lisa have been hurt by the people he was involved with? Or would they have somehow succeeded, leaving Rachel to mourn a man who had chosen to abandon her? I'll never know. I made a choice based on the truth I uncovered, and it saved Rachel from financial ruin and potentially saved Lisa from a far worse fate at the hands of criminals. But it cost me my sister. Sometimes doing the right thing feels like the most painful choice of all. The foundation of my family is cracked and I'm left sifting through the rubble, wondering if the truth was worth the price.